All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. It has not taken New York Mets first baseman Pete Alonso that long to become one of Major League Baseball's premier power hitters. In 4+ years in the big leagues, Alonso has already hit 156 home runs, and he is not showing any signs of slowing down at the plate. As a rookie in 2019, Alonso walloped 53 homers en route to being named the National League's Rookie of the Year. Last year, Alonso went yard 40 times while also leading the NL in runs batted in with 131. And this year, Alonso is well on his way to another big year at the plate as his 19 home runs and 45 runs batted in so far both are tops in the National League. Alonso will soon be cashing in for his prowess at the plate as he is set to become a free agent after the 2024 season. I am not surprised about Alonso having a big season so far, as I expected 2023 to be a big year at the plate for him. And I talked about this over the offseason. You saw, if you're Alonso, you sat back and saw Jeff McNeil, Edwin Diaz, and Brandon Nimmo all get their deals from the Mets this past offseason. And of course, in the case of both Nimmo and McNeil, they're everyday players. They're also homegrown players who have come up through the Mets system, and Alonso falls into that category as well. But nonetheless, you think about Mets team owner Steve Cohen, he does have a penchant to take care of his guys. So, in my opinion, it's only a matter of time before Alonso gets his deal. Aside from what Alonso does at the plate for the Mets, he's also one of the leaders for this team, and he's also a fan favorite, and become a fan favorite very quickly with the Mets. And of course, if you had a rookie campaign like he did back in 2019, of course the fans are going to love you. But for the New York fan base that follows the Mets, they were able to see him from the beginning when he was with the Brooklyn Cyclones back in the mid 2000s. Now, I do believe that the Mets and Cohen will open the vault, if you will, to keep Alonso happy. There will be some money coming off of the books this year as well as next year, even though that I do expect the Mets to pursue Los Angeles Angels starting pitcher slash outfielder Shohei Ohtani when he hits free agency after this season. But nonetheless, I do expect them to go out there and give a solid effort to keep Pete Alonso happy at first base. I also expect the Mets to try to avoid an Aaron Judge type situation with Alonso. Of course, we all remember last year when the New York Yankees, in my opinion, overplayed their hand and was they were a little bit too confident uh, as far as being able to keep Judge as they lowballed him prior to the start of the season. And when it was all said and done, after Judge set an American League record with 62 home runs en route to being the AL MVP, it cost the Yankees more than $100 million more than what they were initially seeking to pay Judge. I don't foresee a scenario like that with the Mets and Alonso, but I will say this: the longer that the Mets wait to get the Pete Alonso deal done, is the longer it's going, the more, pardon me, that his price tag is going to go up. You're talking about a guy that already is fifth all time in the franchise's history in home runs with 165. And there is a realistic shot for him to catch Howard Johnson for fourth by season's end. He's 27 behind him. And I'm also sure that there are some in the Mets fan base that would love for Alonso to be the guy to catch Darryl Strawberry's mark of 252 home runs, which is all time for the Amazons. And that mark, believe it or not, has stood since 1990. Like I said, the longer that the Mets wait to get the Alonso deal done means that it's going more that it's going to cost them to retain his services. I do believe because players do not like to talk about these deals during the season, and you really can't blame them because they would be lowballing themselves. Let's talk about it at season's end where you could put the full body of work together if you're a player. I don't blame them for doing that. And with that said, next off season is going to be the time for the Mets to try to go out there and get this done. Because if you allow Pete Alonso to go out there and hit free agency, it's going to cost you a lot. Now, Alonso is not having his best year average wise at the plate so far. He's only batting 234, but he has an on base percentage of 338 to go along with his 19 home runs and 45 runs batted in. I do believe that batting average will get going over the summer, just as the Mets, I do believe, will get going over the summer as well. They started off strong, they had a dip, and they are showing a lot of signs of getting out of it. And even with that all said and done, the Mets are still in second place in the National League East. While if the season ended today, they would be one of the wild card teams on the National League side. But nonetheless, for Alonso, he is a big part of what the Mets do now, and I think he's going to be a big part of this team going forward. When Steve Cohen likes a guy, he basically gets it done. He got it done with Edwin Diaz. He got it done with Francisco Lindor, and I think he will go out there and get it done with Pete Alonso, as I do believe him to be a New York Met for the long term. But nonetheless, with the season that Pete Alonso is currently having, he is definitely going to cash in. He hit 40 home runs last year. He's flirting. I think he'll definitely get to the 40 home run mark again this year. Good possibility that he reaches 50 for the second time in his career. But nonetheless, he is a part of this Mets team, a big part of this Mets team. He's one of the faces of this Mets team. And like I said, heading into this year, I expected him to have a big season, and he is living up to that and then some. So let's see where this season goes for both Pete Alonso and the New York Mets. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There is also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I'm signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.